Hello and welcome to a special show for the Hong Kong International Races, brought to you by our friends at theraces.com and also our friends in the United States over at twinspires.com. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatale, back with you. I've been all over the United States for the course of the last 2 weeks, out in Tucson, Del Mar, Gulfstream Park, the Meadowlands, but very happy to be back in the Brooklyn bunker once again. I've been wandering so much. I feel like Homer returning to his place of origin, and I don't mean Homer Simpson, folks. But very special show for you. 4 big races to talk about. The first race we're going to talk about is the Group 1 Hong Kong VASE, race number 4 on the card. This will be 6 a.m. in England, 1 a.m. on the East Coast, 10 p.m. Pacific time in the USA. Check the attheraces.com website, get all your time sorted out. You'll be able to find the form, do a little bit of deeper diving yourself when it comes to this stuff. But we will start things off with Pat to get your thoughts on his idea of the winner of this year's Hong Kong VASE.
Well, Pete, this has been a race that has often gone the way of a horse from Europe. But in recent years, Japan has really laid claim to this race, with Satono Crown winning and Glory VASE. The last 2 international winners of this race have come from Japan and Ireland, when Highland Reel was so fantastic in his quest here, and a 2-time winner himself. But I absolutely love Glory VASE in this spot to repeat the feat that he accomplished in 2019. Joe Moreira is the one who will get back on him. And I was really encouraged by what I heard. When your big race rider is so attuned to the mistakes that have happened with this horse in his previous start, Mirko de Muro is a very fine rider, rode a Glory VASE in his last start like he was riding Victoire Pisa in the Dubai World Cup back in 2011, which was try to tip around the entire field, headed towards the far turn, and basically just extracted too much out of Glory VASE in that doing. And Joe Moreira, in his remarks earlier this week, made it very clear that he saw what happened there and just how well Glory VASE had done. He's finally getting back to 2,400 meters. He gave things a go here in Hong Kong in April of this year, where he was over the insufficient 2,000 meter trip, gets back to 2,400. I really like Glory VASE. There's going to be plenty of interest from Americans and Europeans on the European contingent. I'm interested to hear what Naomi and Tim think about them, but I think Japan will lay claim. It'll be the start of a very big day for them as Glory VASE becomes the first 2-time winner from Japan of the Hong Kong VASE.
It's been a busy year for the Japanese runners internationally. Lots of great storylines there. We'll put that question to you, Naomi. How strong do you think Japan's hand is when it comes to the Hong Kong VASE?
I think it's very strong. I actually agree with Pat. My top selection in here is Glory VASE. He's a 6-year-old. He's looked to be cycling back into form after that really, really strong second in the QE2 Cup against Love's Only You. Pat was already highlighting, he gets a magic man on board. You can't go against Joe Moreira in Hong Kong. And he is a couple of years older now since that VASE win in 2019, but he definitely still has it. And he hasn't been raced heavily, which I kind of like to see. They pick their spots and they've done so successfully. Now, in terms of the European contingent coming in here, I definitely have to respect 2 horses that caught my eye. Of course, one of them being PYLEDRIVER for trainer William Muir. That this is his first runner in Hong Kong, his biggest horse he's had to date. This horse won the Group 1 Coronation Cup at Epsom over 2,400 meter. And I thought that was a really strong performance. He took over the lead before the home turn very decisively, looked like a runaway victor that day before a challenge from IGUAZU, which he repelled in the final stride, really digging in deep, out and out stayer that is hopefully I think going to enjoy the Shantin track. Of course, question marks there, but I hope so. I think he comes in here in terrific form. And I thought another interesting storyline here, and I guess that's probably got to do a little bit with her trainer. That's Abira representing France in here for Alain de Roya Dupré, who is going to be retiring at the conclusion of 2021. This will be a lovely victory for him to go out on. She ran her heart out in the Grand Prix de Saint Cloud, strongly hitting the wire. She wasn't able to reel in Broome, but that race was a key race for me for her. And look, Alain Doré-Dupré has won Hong Kong International Races before. He won the Hong Kong Cup in 2006 with Pride, Hong Kong VASE with Dara Kayan in 2009. Plus, as she's a lady, she gets a couple of pounds less from the field as well, which I think will help.
So we've got 2 votes for Glory VASE in the VASE. Tim, can we make it a chorus?
Yeah, we can. I agree with Pat. I agree with Naomi. Glory VASE, when he won this race in 2019, he won by nearly 4 lengths. It was such an easy victory, and you had a very much informed Exultant in behind, Anthony Van Dyke, the Japanese mare Daidri. He beat a really good field, and I think his form at the moment looks rock solid. If you have a look at his run in the Japan Cup last year, again over the 2,400 metres in behind Almond Eye, it was an excellent effort, and that was a red-hot renewal of the Japan Cup as well. The other thing is he's had the one lead-up run, which he normally does have before he comes over to Hong Kong, and it was a really good effort. He finished 3rd. If you go back to his last 2 trips over here, he was actually beaten, unplaced in both his lead-up runs. I think he's very much the one to beat. I've got a lot of time for PYLEDRIVER. If he runs to the same sort of level he did at Epsom when he won the Coronation Cup, he should be tough to beat. But Glory VASE is proven on the ground. PYLEDRIVER is one on good ground over here, but as we know, good ground in Europe is a little bit different to that firm ground you get in Hong Kong. But with PYLEDRIVER as well, we just don't know. We've never seen him travel away from home before, whereas Glory VASE, he's a proven traveller. He's proven over course and distance. He's proven on the ground. Joe Mirror in the saddle. He ticks every single box.
Let's move on to the Hong Kong Sprint, 40 minutes after the scheduled post time of the VASE Group 1 action. Once again, Tim Carroll, let's keep it with you for your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is probably the toughest race to break down of the 4 Group 1. So I'm going to go a little bit, well, I think he'll be a little bit left field anyway. NABOO Attack. He's a monster of an animal. He weighs in at nearly 1,400 pounds. He's got no early speed. He's going to fall out of the stalls. He's going to be at the back. But what he needs a race run quickly. And with Computer Patch and a few others here, I think this will be run at a decent clip. It normally is. I don't think they'll go ridiculous, but I think they'll go quick enough. We'll need a little bit of luck because he will be out the back. I would think he's probably going to be ridden in similar style to what he was last time when he came down the centre of the track and ran second to Lucky Patch in the trial race. But I just think the speed there will really suit him. And at the prices, I think certainly for people who like to play the each way lines, I think he could be a bit of a play.
Each way lines, meaning get somewhere in the frame for those USA viewers I know will be tagging along. Try to get up in the 1, 2, 3 for NABOO Attack. And I'll mention, Tim, that I know at least one punter will be riding along with you off the Star Wars hunch play. My 8-year-old daughter, Perrin, is definitely going to have me bet some of her birthday money for NABOO Attack. Naomi, how do you see this one?
I kind of agree with him that this is a bit of a wide open field in the best of possible ways. I think there's a lot of speed tied on. He was mentioning NABOO Attack will need that speed. He's one of the more sort of horse that comes off the pace, and so he's definitely going to get it. I have a little bit of an angle here as well. I think she is available at about 8-1. Last I was checking on Odds Checker, the number 12 Resistencia. She's drawn in gate 7, which is perfectly fine here. That bend does come up quickly. She met PIXIE Knight at equal weights in Japan in her last 2 starts, bested him in the Group 2 Centaur Stakes 2 starts ago. She was the JRA 2-year-old champion filly in 2019. She handles any ground. She has solid Group 1 form. I keep wanting to say grade 1. That's now my side take of being here in the US, right? Her and PIXIE Knight were in similar spots in their last race that they met, albeit PIXIE Knight kind of got produced a little bit earlier than her. So he slightly had the jump on her, looked a little bit like the better horse on the day, but she gets a couple of pounds here, which I think might help her too. She gets Christophe Soumillon on board. Of course, he's won plenty of Hong Kong international races here as well. And I think at 8-1, in terms of your each way place that you were mentioning, I think she's interesting.
Pat Cummings, where are you in here?
A horse that no one has mentioned thus far. I think he is really flying a little bit under the radar in the sense of just how good he may be. And I'm making him the whole bet of the meeting for me, and that's number 2, PIXIE Knight. I think this horse could be the next coming of Lord Kanaloa. He's from the first crop of Morris, who just absolutely loved his time in Hong Kong. multiple Group 1 winner of the mile, the cup, and had some success in the Champions Mile too. I love Pixie Night in here. This horse has done very little wrong. He's only had 2 starts in Group 1 company. One of them was a win in the Sprinter Stakes, where he became only the second 3-year-old since 1998 to win the Sprinter Stakes in Japan. This is a horse, they tried him over some longer distances and realized that was not it, cut him back. Same thing happened to Lord Kanaloa, who when he won this race in 2012 and 13, I have said that Lord Kanaloa is his win in the 2013 Hong Kong Sprint is the single best performance I've ever witnessed in person, and remains to this day. What we saw from Pixie Night in the Sprinter Stakes, yes, it's had a very nice trip, but ran away from the field. And prior to that was beaten by Resistencia, Naomi selection, had a terrible trip, 4 to 5 wide, no cover, picked up a little 3 wide cover, and just missed running her down. This looks to me that a horse is rapidly improving. I saw 4 to 1 on offer in England earlier in the week. I think this horse is a bet at anything over 3 to 2. I am all about Pixie Night in the Hong Kong Sprint. To Naomi and Tim's point before, the Hong Kong sprinters are all a bit of a mishmash at the moment. There is no real standout among them. Lucky Patch has been very good and kind of picked up the pieces, but not doing so in any real remarkably impressive format. To Tim's selection, NABOO Attack had a tremendous piece of track work earlier this week, came home sub 22 for a final 400. Totally needs that pace. I think he's going to get a good clip. I don't know if it's going to be enough for him because he still has not been able to run down Lucky Patch. I'm going with the Japanese 2 Pixie Night over 12 Resistencia. And then I do have NABOO Attack in for 3rd. I think he will come running. In both the Sprint and the VASE, we have not mentioned that last year's winner is in both of these races, MOGUL in the VASE and DANON Smash in the Sprint. Neither horse has replicated their efforts with real resolve since their wins here last year. DANON Smash did have a good run in the Takamatsu Namiya Kinan earlier this year, but I like the progressive types here, and Pixie Night and Resistencia represent that.
Next up, we've got the Longines Hong Kong Mile, race number 7 on the card, Group 1 action. Once again, we've got a giant favorite in the form of the popular Golden 60. And I'll ask you right back, Pat Cummings, are you with or against?
He's very hard to be against, but I'll find a way to do it. This horse has won 15 consecutive races. I think he's flown under the radar as one of the best in the world. Fast pace, slow pace. He comes from out the back, and he had everything really go against him pace-wise in the Jockey Club Mile, the prep for this, and he still ran them down and put them away. So I'm putting all of the other Hong Kong contenders aside. It's going to be very difficult to get Golden 60 out of the Quinella, and no one's gotten him out of the winner's spot in the last 15, and that includes in this race last year. He's also a Hong Kong Derby winner over 2000. I mean, he really is exceptional. The thing is, he's never faced a horse like Danon Kingley. And to me, Danon Kingley has really some of the best form in the race. His Yasuda Kinan win was incredibly impressive. Granted, he did it at a big price because it was not expected, but he has since kind of backed that up over a race over 1,800 meters last time. That really was just, he found himself in front too soon and got run down by a very quality horse in Schnellmeister. I think Danon Kingley offers tremendous value on the day. I saw him at 10 to 1 earlier in the week. I don't think we're going to get that on the tote. I expect we'll see him in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 as a very clear second choice. I'm all about that. So Danon Kingley over Golden 60 for me in the mile.
Pat going for the upset. Naomi, how do you see it?
I feel like Pat and I've been reading each other's notes or something because in the sprint, I'm Resistencia over Pixie Night and he's the other way around. I agree with him here. I have Danon Kingly, the number 2, over the number 1 Golden 60. Of course, he already highlighted it. The question is anyone going to stop the reigning horse of the Hong Kong Horse of the Year, Golden 60? He's got that home track advantage, clearly in superb form, can run into any pace, which is the mark of a superb miler, to be able to do that, to overcome anything that gets thrown his way. But I think Danon Kingly, the fact he's had a light campaign in 2021 thus far, he returned in the Yasuda Kina, where he won at big odds after a 7-month layoff. And also, let's talk about his jockey. Yuga Kawada is on board, comes in fresh off a win of Love's Only You at the Breeders' Cup. Love's Only You, he will be partnering her in the Hong Kong Cup as well. I mean, a little bit of confidence in here. And look, in general, we said this before, the Japanese, when they come to Hong Kong, they tend to hold a very strong hand and have been incredibly successful. So I'm definitely keying a lot around the Japanese runners in a fair few of these races.
Tim, let's bring you in and get your thoughts on this one. Are you going to go with the Golden 60, or are you with the rest of the team looking for the upset?
No, I'm going against the rest of the team this time. I'm with Golden 60. He's a seriously good horse. When he won this race last year, he ran to an international rating of 124. That's world class. His lead up run to this, I've actually got the numbers in front of me. He ran 52 seconds, or they ran 52 seconds for the first half mile. Now, you don't need me to tell you, they're absolutely walking. He's at the back of the field. He ran home in 44 seconds. That's a serious change of gear. I think he's proven he's won 19 from 20. My one concern, and I do appreciate Pat made the point that there's some good horses here from Japan. I think my one concern is that Vincent tends to ride him a little bit cute, a little bit like Hugh Bowman did with Winks at times in Australia. And that's absolutely fine against the locals, because he basically turns them around in circles when he goes by them. I think Vincent's going to have to be a little bit more careful here and have his wits about him, but provided he doesn't give those good Japanese horses and one or two others, again, like Pat, I think he's got the locals covered. Although I do think Excellent Proposal will run a big race here at a good price. I think he's going to turn out to be a pretty good horse. But provided he doesn't give the international horses too much rope, I've got no doubt he's very much the one to beat.
Maybe a little bit of a forecast, exacta getting involved there, Tim, in addition to some win on Golden 60. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it is actually. I've put Excellent Proposal in for second. Look, I know he goes into far deeper waters here, but watch his run last time out when he ran second. He had no ride. He got absolutely poleaxed at the top of the stretch, and he came back and he ran second. He shouldn't have been anywhere in the mix. It wouldn't surprise me after Golden 60, and I know this is probably a big statement, but it wouldn't surprise me by the end of this season if he's regarded as the second best miler in Hong Kong, if that's the way John Size elects to go.
Last up, we have the Longines Hong Kong Cup, goes as race number 8. And what a story it's been this year with Love's Only You. You could write a novel about a season like this. My question for you, Tim Carroll, how's that novel going to end?
I like her. I think she's very much the one to beat here. I was really impressed with her in America at the Breeders. I think also, if you watch that run, she got into a little bit of trouble. I'm not going to say a lot of trouble, but she was momentarily held up, and she probably should have won by further. I think people kind of forget that this filly is now a Group 1 winner in 3 different countries. I mean, that takes some doing. She's a winner here as well. She came over and she won the QE2 Cup. Maybe the second horse, Glory Vase, was a tad unlucky, but she lost a plate in the run that day as well. So she's proven. Her trainer, Yoshito Yahagi, who's an absolute character, along with Charlie Appleby at the moment, would have to be the best international travelling trainer in the world. He's got form with these fillies, improving them as they get a little bit older, like Lise Grisseau. And I reckon, personally, I thought she ran a career best in America last time. So we know that she arrives here at the top of the game. She's definitely the selection for mine. I just want to mention the European horse, Max SWINEY. He's a really surprising entry for mine. I've got so much respect for Jim Bolger. He's a shrewd trainer, but when you have a look at his form, it's all on rain-affected ground and rain-affected ground in Europe. I don't really understand the entry for Sha Tin, to be honest, but it is Jim Bolger, so who am I to argue?
Naomi, through my abject terror up in the hot air balloon, I do recall that you were a big supporter of Love's Only You in the Breeders' Cup. Do you think she'll go for the double here?
I hope so. And yes, I do remember talking with you about her. Well, I don't know how high we were, but high enough for you to be indeed absolutely terrified. I had a blast actually, Pete. I thought it was great fun. But yes, Love's Only You. I remember I've keyed around her Dubai Shemat Classic form because I thought that was an incredible hardy race that she ran against the likes of Mishrif, Chronogenesis. I mean, 6th start of the year, but plenty of air miles. She's an incredible traveler. Japan to the UAE to Hong Kong, back to Japan, to the West Coast in the United States, and now here. She's won here before. I think she is the class in this field. I'd love for her to come in here and get it done again. And Tim was already mentioning that was a sort of tricky trip that she had to navigate in those final moments of the British Cup Filly Mare and Turf. I wasn't sure she was going to get there in time. Terrific race that day. I do want to mention one of the European entries in here as well. It's not Max Media. I did look at him, and his form ties, actually his form doesn't tie in, excuse me. Dubai Honor for Willie Haggis, Tom Marquand comfortably did best at Max Sweeney when running second to Silhouette in the Cape Cod Champions Stakes. He gave Silhouette a really decent run for his money, holding on until the final stages. I thought he took the next step after winning 2 Group 2s already. I think he's interesting coming in here, and certainly on sort of his international performance ratings has really sort of gone on the up and up. Do I think he's good enough to best the likes of Love's Only You? No, I want to see her win, but this is a progressive 3-year-old.
Pat Cummings, let's bring you in to get your thoughts on the Hong Kong Cup.
I've been glad to hear what Tim and Naomi have said, because I'm the type of person who does not seek confirmation bias in horse racing, particularly on this meeting. I like to hear it when they haven't mentioned my horse. I like the other 2 Japanese runners, number 11, Le Papale, the filly, and number 4, HISHI IGUAZU, for the very successful Noriyuki Hori, who actually brought a horse to run in the first 4 placings 4 consecutive years in a row with Jaguar Mail in the Hong Kong VASE a couple years back, and he brought Morris over in his neo-realism and so much success. Unfortunately, HISHI IGUAZU's drawn gate 12, which I think will make things a little tricky for him. But part of this is I'm a little against Love's Only You, and I think this is actually a class test for her. She took a step down in class in the filly and mare turf. She had a wonderful ride from Yuka Kawada, which I was concerned about going into that race. I loved her that day. I don't like her as much here. I think she enjoyed the 2,200 meters at Del Mar. And her win here back in April was against Glory Vaz, who did not want to run 2,000. He won 2,400, and a fairly weak group from Hong Kong. I think that she is well worth playing against in this spot. But I certainly have so much respect and appreciation for her. The on-top selection for me is number 11, Le Papale, who is, I think she probably has the best form line of any horse on the entire international race sequence. She won the Osaka High on the front end back in April, beating the likes of Contrail, Gran Alegria, and Salios, who we didn't talk much about, but is certainly a shot in the mile. I think that's the best form line of the entire program, to have a win like that. Now she was a little bit more in form at the time, and the others were coming off layoffs, but they had been successful off layoffs before. Le Papale, to me, she's going to go forward under Christophe Soumillon. I don't think she'll necessarily lead. The speed map from the Hong Kong folks has her sitting just back in the second flight. She's going to track and stalk what's probably a good pace that will come from Kai Ying Star, who is drawn in gate 6. I think it's between those two. Christophe Soumillon, for a trainer who has not been successful in Hong Kong in the past. But Le Papale, to me, is the one that I want most of all. And I think if this conversation is any guide, we may get a little bit of value about Le Papale. Also, she's been campaigned in her last 3 starts over 2,200 meters. Newsflash, she does not want to run 2,200 meters. She's been caught in those races. She wants 2,000, and this cutback is going to prove the point. I like Le Papale over HISHI IGUAZU And the real long shot outsider for me here, I was waiting to see the barrier draw to make a determination on this, is number 5, Russian Emperor, and has drawn in gate 10. He's going to be 60 or 70 to 1. I don't think he wants any part of racing inside. I do not think this horse likes to be on the inside. I think he's a little skittish inside. He's done his best work outside. He came thrashing down the outside in the Hong Kong Derby when he had very clear run. And I think Blake Shin's going to try and keep him out of the mess, take him back, bring him around horses. Russian Emperor at a boxcar price to run third in a competitive, fun edition of the Hong Kong Cup.
We have just 2 minutes left in our Hong Kong International Night preview, brought to you by attheraces.com and twinspires.com. I want to go back to each of you for one question. Who is your best bet? We'll start with you, Pat Cummings.
PIXIE Knight in the sprint, next coming of one of the great sprinters in the world. No one knows it yet, and that means you're going to get a half decent price in this race. So number 2, PIXIE Knight in the Hong Kong sprint for me.
Naomi Tukker, your best bet.
I'm going with the best bet also being some value, the number 2 DANON Kingly in the Hong Kong Mile to best Golden 60.
Tim Carroll, round us out here. Your best bet on Hong Kong International Night.
I'm going to take on Naomi at absolutely no value, Golden 60. I think he does it again. There won't be a dry eye in the house if he wins. There won't be a dry eye in the house if he loses. But he's going to be my on top.
Great stuff. I want to thank the panel. Pat Cummings, Naomi Tukker, Tim Carroll. Will thank our sponsors as well, attheraces.com, Sky Sports Racing, twinspires.com. Pleasure to be here with you all. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.